What did you say?
Morning, Mr. Earl.
I know. And you know, under equal protection laws, they cannot require women to have.
We know that very well. We know that very well because we have that. And then another employee was covered
Ooh, that's bad.
I sure am. I'm right. How you doing? Right, pleasure.
Okay, so the employee's no longer here. This is Janice.
Yeah, I recognize
Janice,
you.
county attorney.
No,
How you
Janice
doing?
used to work at our practice.
definitely not.
Oh,
Richie.
But which
Y'all signed it in? Did you
employee,
sign?
though?
Okay, cool, cool.
You know who told her that.
Awesome,
That
awesome.
employee also is also down there?
Oh, no, she is.
Oh, she is.
It was Tracy.
You don't
So
want
I
me.
should have known.
Thank you.
I'm looking to see if I can find a picture of Derek.
That's so funny to me. 'cause
Good morning,
Rachel-
Mr. Earl.
Yes, he is very fast.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So a lot of
Okay.
NFL players are getting into this too.
But if you
You
want
know
to
how
know what's
baseball.
in the
Good morning, sir.
girls'
Morning,
soccer,
morning.
Baseball, yeah.
You watch Derek, he's always on the cutting edge.
Wow.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
This
Dante,
guy.
I
He is
need to
humble. Like
see you with a
you.
brooch.
Oh, I
Like
got,
you.
I already have the brooches.
We have some.
Good morning.
I mean, I have some.
Yeah. I have ladybugs, I have cardinals.
I know, I need to break mine out. I just don't have anything that big, so probably what I need to do is glue them together. I wire them, exactly. Because I have some from my grandmother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have them from Alan's mom.
Yeah,
Let's put on a show.
I have
Put on
a
a brooch show.
brooch.
Next month, we'll wear a
Yeah.
That's it.
I have a
What's
brooch.
this for?
No clue.
I have a brooch.
Oh, it's
of
the
a
instructions
hand
for the chair. That's
holding
hilarious.
a
Come on over.
Tea.
All right.
extended pink. Good morning, Tim. How are you? Great, great. Now, I got it.
Oh, I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen it yet. I used to go out of that in antique shops. And, you know, they take
Miami County Council Board of January 7, 2026. Will us all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
She's coming.
Madam Secretary, do you have anything for our board rules today?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Please silence all cell phones. If you wish to speak, please let the board secretary know in advance. Otherwise, raise your hand for the board chair to recognize your request. When the chairman calls you to speak, come to the podium, adjust the microphone, and state your name and address for the record. You are requested to keep your remarks brief and factual. Both parties of an issue will be granted uniform maximum time to speak, which usually runs between 3 to 5 minutes. This hearing is considered quasi-judicial. Conduct is formal, and profane or derogatory comments will not be tolerated.
Thank you. Do we have a determination of quorum this morning?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. With 6 members present, we do. Ms. Luna is on her way.
Good deal. Thank you. And proof of publication for our meeting?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. It was published on January 1st, 2026 in the Pensacola News Journal.
And I will entertain a motion for approval of minutes from the November 5th meeting.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved. Our public forum session is next. We have a 3-minute limit for anyone that would like to speak. Is there anybody here today that would like to speak during public forum?
I didn't receive any speaker request forms, and I think all members here are agenda items.
Good deal. Anybody here for public forum? Okay. Our board secretary status report.
Welcome to the new year.
Good report. It's going to be a good year. Okay. We're moving now into contractor applications. Good morning, guys.
Good morning, and Happy New Year, board. Our first applicant to appear before you today is Mr. George Costello. And Mr. Costello, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Morning.
Morning.
My name is George Castello, owner of Westside Glass, and my address is 9943 Lifeline Court, Mobile, Alabama, 36608.
Yes, indeed. Mr. Castello is applying for the doors and window and siding examination and appears before you today with 14 years and 2 months of experience according to the application provided. Mr. Castello has provided W-2s for part of his experience verification using ownership of his company, Westside Glass, LLC, from 2021 to 2025 in the state of Alabama. Now, he has received his aluminum storefront glass and glazing license in the state of Alabama in 2023 and is currently in active status with license number S58415, issued by the state of Alabama Licensing Board, and that's found in the agenda items. And Mr. Costello's responsibilities include, but are not limited to, overseeing the day-to-day operations on various residential projects, assigning work to glazers, measuring for installation on residential windows, showers, and doors, as well as bidding on commercial projects. Now, by this being an out-of-state application, staff will defer to the board for final decision.
Good morning, sir. Would you like to address the board with anything?
Not really. I appreciate the opportunity. Anytime I can speak before the board, I always like to. But I've been in business since 2010. We do a lot of subcontractor work, and we're trying to expand in Florida. Matter of fact, we got an upcoming job for, I believe it's an Express Oil, maybe? I don't know. But anyway, it's subcontractor for a general contractor, and they asked us if we had our stuff together here, and I said, well, let's do it, and that's how I got here. But yeah, we like to do commercial glass and residential work, so we like to work over here all we can.
So you've been in business since 2010, 2011, somewhere in that area, is that
There you
correct?
go. Yes, sir.
And you just received license in 2023, is that correct?
We got certification in 23. We've been licensed ever since 2010. We did aluminum certification license in 2023. Dante done a lot of, I'm pretty impressed by what he knows. I'd forgotten some of that.
So did they not require that license for what you were doing before? I'm just looking at the window from 2010 to 2023.
There you
There was
go.
no license required for what you were doing.
Yes, sir. That's
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Any questions, anybody? Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
To approve? Okay.
Yes, to approve, pardon me.
I have a motion to approve in a second. Any questions? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hear none, motion is approved. Good luck with everything.
Yes, sir. Thank y'all.
Yes, sir.
Y'all have a blessed day.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate all your help.
All righty. Now, our next applicant appearing before you today is Mr. Jeffrey Nafsdale. Mr. Nafsdale, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Morning. Jeff Naftel. Address is 2222 Highway 196, Molino, Florida, 32577.
Alrighty, Mr. Naftel is applying for the Master Plumber with Gas examination and appears before you today with 8 years and 5 months of experience. Mr. Naftel received his journeyman's plumbing license in 2001 with Kentucky license number 13480, issued by Kentucky Department of Housing, Building, and Construction. He worked as owner-operator in the Bowling Green, Kentucky with his company, Professional Plumbing Services, with Master Plumbing License number M6979 in 2006. He has also held a specialty contractor license, which is required by Ordinance 91-58 WC and 91-25 BG, with active status from 2020 to 2025. And this also was issued by Bowling Green, Warren County Contractor Licensing Board, which can be found in the agenda items. Mr. Naftel's responsibilities include, but are not limited to, managing all aspects of daily operations with new construction, residential service repairs, and supervising 13 employees on numerous projects. And again, by this being a out-of-state application, the staff will defer to the board for the final decision.
Good deal. Ms. Naftel, would you like to address the board this morning?
I don't really have anything, no, sir. Just looking to get my master license here, so,
In Florida.
yes, sir.
And Chair, Mr. Naftel works for Escambia County in our facilities department, and so that urged him on to get his license.
Okay. I was going to ask, it's a good answer then. Your employment from the plumbing stopped in 2021 there, and I was just asking what were you currently involved in? But if it's facilities maintenance, then you're still got your hands in it there somewhere.
Yes, sir. I actually was lucky enough, I sold my business in Kentucky back in 21. So we moved down here and just kind of did nothing for a little while, but got back into the workforce and working here at Escambia County. So.
You left the Corvettes to come to the Florida,
Yes, sir.
Sunny
Yes,
Florida,
sir.
right?
Sure did. Yep.
Bowling Green. Sounds good. Any questions from anybody on the board? Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion's approved. Good luck with everything, man. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Board, and Happy New Year.
Yes, sir.
Our final applicant to appear before you today is Mr. Wilmer Rodriguez. Mr. Rodriguez, if you will please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record, sir.
Good morning, Happy New Year. My name is Wilmer Rodriguez, and I live in Fort Walton Beach, 100 Lovejoy Road, 32547.
So, Mr. Rodriguez appears before you today requesting to reciprocate his Okaloosa County residential contractor's license to Escambia County. He appears before you today, 3 years and 10 months of experience working under L. Price Building Company, license holder Lacey Price, license number RR282812182. His experience was listed as a skilled framer and supervisor. His experience form has provided a list of jobs and experience signed off on by the former license holder. I did reach out by phone to the license holder. She stated that Wilmer was hired on initially as a framer. He was very skilled in his trade and is of great character. He was responsible for framing all projects and for overseeing all employees. To account for the remaining time needed to meet the 4-year requirement set forth by State Statute 489-111, he has provided a master's degree of science. This has been provided for the board's consideration. Staff did not find any financial or criminal history while processing the application, and because this is a reciprocity, staff will defer to the board for decision.
Good morning, sir. Would you like to say anything to the board this morning?
No, just, well, I got my license 2024, and I've been trying to reciprocate in all the 4 counties that I'm allowed to. I'm in Okaloosa and Walton County right now, so that's why we keep expanding and growing, mostly doing cosmetic remodelings, interior, and we have a few customers contacting us from this area that will require our, license to be valid here in Escambia, and that's why I'm applying.
And Chair, just to let you know, he's reciprocating from Okaloosa. Okaloosa has the same requirements as Escambia County for licensure.
Gotcha. So the license transferred to our county is the same as what we would be requiring. And so you've already been in business over there for a year and something?
No, since 2020, we started the business, yes.
You've had your license since 2020?
No, the license we got in 2024. Before we were working under,
That's right.
yeah, the
A little over a
building
year you've
license,
had your
yes.
license.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Good deal. Any questions from anybody? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved. Congratulations, man. Thank you guys for doing a good job again. All the research and everything. Thank you all.
Hey, we thank you all so much.
Moving into the probable cause hearings.
Yes, sir, Chair. Our first item is Saul D. Spade, doing business as LM Construction and Roofing LLC. State certified license number CGC 1535248. Contractor Competency Board complaint number 250876 COM. It's in regard to Melissa Shea, the complainant at 7170 Klondike Road, Pensacola, Florida, 32526. Proper notice was sent to the respondent. Mr. Spade, are you present today? Let it be noted that Mr. Spade is not present. And Ms. Shea, are you present today? Ms. Shea, are you going to be providing testimony for this hearing? At this time, I'm going to have Ms. Shea and our investigator, Melissa Reber, sworn in. We're going to just quickly go through our investigation report. Ms. Reber, was a complaint filed with our department, and on what date was it filed?
Yes, there was. August 1st of 2025.
And what was the assigned case number?
250876 COM.
What licensed contractor was this complaint filed against?
Saul D. Spade, doing business as LM Construction and Roofing LLC.
And what is his address according to our contractor licensing department.
2579 Pine Forest Road, Cantonment, Florida, 32533.
What type of license does Mr. Spade hold?
He owns a state licensed general contractor, CGC 1535248.
And who was the complainant for this case?
Melissa Shea.
During your investigation, were you able to determine any alleged violations? If so, can you please inform the board of those and your justification?
I was. Code Section 1837C11, finding that a contractor is guilty of fraud or deceit or gross negligence, incompetency, or misconduct in the practice of contracting. Justification is the contractor continued to receive wires, draws, working unpermitted, and continues to qualify L&M Construction and Roofing, LLC. The supporting documentation you have in your file is Complainant's Exhibit B, proof of payments, Complainant's Exhibit C. There is Martin arrest in Department of Business and Professional Regulations investigations. Code Section 1837C8, termination of a construction project in which the contractor is engaged or under contract shall be considered to have been abandoned after 90 days. That justification, a stop work order was issued April 3rd, 2025. There was an expired permit and no permitting obtained for trusses, roof, and additions onto the building. Code Section 1837D15. C. Job finished without a permit having been pulled, or no permit until caught after job, or late permit during the job resulting in misinspections or inspections. Justification is trusses were built, there was roof installation, there was concrete poured, and they began framing of walls to add on to the building. Supporting documentation, investigators Exhibit C, which is project photos.
And all of that supporting documentation is attached to this agenda, correct?
Yes, it is.
And we also have notice of this here.
Madam Secretary, I don't think your mic is on.
I can usually project pretty well.
I know. Just in case they need it for official records.
Yes, sir. Also included in the backup items of the agenda, there are the actual complaint form, the stop work photos, expired permit, and a response to the complaint, along with notice of the probable cause, correct?
That is correct.
Steph would request that these items be moved in as evidence.
Do I have a motion to move items in evidence?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved.
And Ms. Reber, can you take us through a brief synopsis of what happened during your investigation?
Escambia County Building Services staff received a formal complaint from Melissa Shea alleging that Saul Spade, qualifier for LM Construction and Roofing, LLC, and Logan Martin, owner of LKM Construction and Maintenance, failed to obtain the required permits for the construction project performed unpermitted work and subsequently abandoned the project after a stop work order was issued on April 3rd, 2025. Shea further alleges that LKM retained all funds paid for incomplete work. According to Shea, her husband, John Shea, operating through Tucker Property Services, Inc., entered into a business agreement with LKM Construction and Maintenance to perform rehabilitation work at 7170 Klondike Road. The property, a fire-damaged motel, was to be converted into an 8-unit apartment complex. The Shays purchased the property in September 2024 for $150,000 with an assessed rehabilitation cost of $384,800. Shay reports that an initial payment of $40,000 was wired to LKM Construction and Maintenance on February 6, 2025 for roofing work, followed by an additional wire transfer totaling $45,000 on March 10th and March 19th, 2025. On April 2nd, 2025, Escambia County Building Services received a report from Escambia County Fire Safety regarding roof and truss replacements occurring at the property without approved engineering plans or permits. Upon inspection, staff determined that the building was also being expanded. The only active permit found for the site was a window and door permit issued to LM Construction and Roofing, LLC. The qualifier, Saul Spade, was contacted regarding the unpermitted work, and a stop work order was issued on April 3rd, 2025. No plans, permit applications, or further communications have been received from the contractor since that date. Further findings discovered in an investigation, Saul Spade still registered as qualifier for LM Construction and Roofing, LLC, despite owner Logan Martin having been previously arrested for unlicensed contracting and the Department of Business and Professional Regulations having ongoing cases against Martin. Shay states that an additional $40,000 payment was wired to LKM Construction and Maintenance on April 22nd, 2025, after the stop work order had been issued, without her knowledge of the enforcement action. A record search confirmed that LM Construction and Roofing, LLC was issued a window and door permit on February 20th, 2025. The permit had no inspections conducted and is currently in an expired status.
Ms. Shea is present.
Ms. Shea, would you like to approach the board? And before we do that, Madam Secretary, I need to make sure everybody up here is clarified on one thing. This is a state licensed contractor.
That is correct.
So for us to be proceeding with this as a state licensed contractor when we deal with the local registereds, what the disciplining, from my understanding of a state certified, goes through the CILB/DBPR?
It can. I think Tim may want to expand on that. There is, if it were to go to disciplinary action, some action can be taken against a state license.
I just want to clarify of us being involved in a state certified license.
This board has the ability to suspend or revoke permitting privileges for state certified contractors.
Right. I just want to clarify everybody up here why we're addressing this is that we have the ability to suspend permitting privileges. We can't suspend license, correct?
No, sir. We cannot do any action to their license.
Right.
That would go through DBPR. And this is, any action you take would only be for Escambia County.
For Escambia County, right. So I just want everybody to be aware of what we're doing. This is permitting privileges only, nothing to do with license, et cetera, in Escambia County only. Just make sure everybody's aware. Thank you for letting me clarify that, just to make sure everybody's aware of that. I'm sorry. Ms. Shea, would you like to approach the board and give us some insights here?
Thank you. Good morning, board. I've been working with Melissa Rebar on this because we were, my husband had purchased the property. We had hired LMK Construction, Construction to do the construction work on there. We did give him a deposit. We did have a estimate of work to be done. We gave him multiple draws. He assured me that he had all his licenses. He assured me that he pulled the roofing permit. There was an expansion done to the property. He said that he had an architect do the drawings. None of the permits were ever submitted. None of them. This is costing, this is a great hardship to me and my family, because not only is there violations that are very costly now attached to this property, but they have attached it to every other property we own, and that is not allowing us to refinance, to pull out any money to allow to repair this or get another contractor. So we're asking for your help in this regards. We've been working with other violations. He did do work on other properties. He has been paid for those, and all of them have violations because permits were not pulled. There's currently 11 cases pending before DBPR, if I'm saying that correctly,
DBPR.
against Paul Spade and Logan Martin. That's all. And yeah, he's been paid for all these activities before.
So, under Exhibit D, kind of a extensive letter deal here.
This one?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Shea and Mr. Martin I'm in the second paragraph, with Mr. Spade, who is the one that has the license here, the qualifier. Been in a complex business relationship since early 2023, completed numerous projects together. Mr. Logan would research properties, present Ms. Shea with proposed projects. Ms. Shea would then decide on funding for the projects. Mr. Logan would handle all the logistics and the work to upgrade and repair the property at cost, with the profits and sales of these projects being split between Ms. Shea and Mr. Martin. Mr. Martin was the registered agent on Ms. Shea's Florida companies until she severed their partnership. When wire transfers came into Mr. Martin, they were deposited in a general account. The initial transfer was not earmarked. Multiple projects. Concerning Klondike Road, there was never a contract. Is that correct?
No, there was, he gave a scope of work. He gave a scope of work for every project. And I know he keeps giving this rhetoric to everybody, and then they just throw it out as civil, and it's not helping our case. But there has never been any written agreement as per any joint ventures or anything of that nature. Between my husband, who actually owns the properties, and Mr. Logan. And so he keeps saying this just so that you guys dismiss it, and he has no accountability for anything. He was hired as a contractor. He was paid as a contractor.
Who was hired as the contractor?
Logan Martin.
Mr. Martin was hired as the contractor. Do you have a contract with Mr. Martin?
I have the scope of works that he would send us and the invoices he would send us.
And you paid Mr. Martin for these?
Yep.
Okay.
And he said he had licensing, and he uses Saul Spade's licensing.
And you knew that he was using his license, and which was okay?
He just said he was licensed.
He didn't tell you who he was using?
No, not until I met Mrs. Rebar did she explain who the licensing was under, how he was pulling.
It seemed like, I just want to dig in this a little bit, because there's more than the surface of what we were hearing at first there. That's a little convoluted, yeah. The project, okay, so there never was a contract. This project began just as all the others did after the project was underway. Ms. Shea made a very serious false allegation, decided to sever her relationship with Mr. Logan. Work ceased at this point. To our knowledge, there's only one permit open for Klondike Road for windows and doors. There's a lot to this, isn't there?
Well, there was a lot of projects. I think it's
I'm talking about there's a lot to the mechanics of this.
I don't see it that way. He was hired as a contractor, and he did the contracting work, and we paid him as a contractor. He sent us a bill for it. There was never any splitting. There was one project we did in 2023 where we felt he did really good as a contractor, and we did give him some of the profit because it was very low construction on that, and the project did very well. But all the other projects, my husband kept those projects. And there's not, I would challenge him to produce anything between my husband and him saying that they had some kind of agreement like that.
That's what I'm leading into. Is there any type of agreement? Was there any type of contract?
No, not between my husband, who owns the properties, and Mr. Logan.
Okay.
There's nothing.
But was there a contract with him on this property? There's a things of a written agreement and a verbal agreement, and this is beyond this board. But
Right.
There's a difference in a verbal agreement and an oral agreement, and it works, the legal system is beyond what we're doing here to decide if that's a contract or not. So I'm not trying to, intertwine anything with that as much as I'm trying to find out, was there legitimately a contract between you and your husband and Mr. Martin
For contracting of work,
for this work on Klondike Road?
there is the scope of work that was submitted into us and the payments that were made to him on this.
Do we have a copy of the scope of work and the,
It's in the backup. And that's what I have right here. That was gonna be my question. Could this be inferred as a contractual agreement? Since it has everything stipulated out, including letterhead, address of the property, stipulates the property itself, and then the entirety of the scope of work, outside, inside, bathroom, kitchen, and then other.
can you tell us which exhibit you're looking at?
So I'm looking at page 169 of 314. It is after all of the wire transfers. Christy, maybe you can help us out with that. Okay.
As far as he would have emailed us the scope of work.
I don't know that I see that. Maybe I just didn't scroll down far enough.
It's on your screen.
I just didn't scroll down far enough. I'm sorry. My bad.
I don't know if this helps, but we had a lender who was involved that we would have had to submit all this paperwork to them to get approval, to get the funding.
So, did you have any contract at all with Mr. Spade?
With Mr. Spade, no.
Yes, ma'am.
everything-
Saul D. Spade, who is doing business as L&M Construction Roofing. Did you have anything with him? Everything was with Mr. Martin.
Everything was with Mr. Martin, and the licensing was under Mr. Spade.
And Mr. Spade did not pull permits?
They did,
He did pull permits?
yes. There were permits obtained, a permit obtained
A permit
under Mr. Spade's license.
for the window and doors,
That is his connection to this.
but not for the plywood and roof and all that stuff?
No.
Oh, boy. Why did I call in sick today?
The problem, you were asking about this whether or not it's a contract. The problem is that Florida requires specific, in their construction contracts, as you're aware, there's specific requirements that have to be laid out before you can say, before it would be enforceable on the contractor side.
Right.
And so while they have an agreement, I think this is more of an oral agreement, and I know that Mr. Trawick is here to speak on behalf of, I guess, of the construction, the LM Construction Company. So he may be able to lay out more, and he may have more documentation than we currently do. But as far, there's a problem when you have a contractor who's not providing you just have to cross, with construction, you have to cross all the Ts. So that's what you're looking at here, is even an oral agreement would be enforceable at contract law, but it's not necessarily going to survive your scrutiny.
Right.
Not from her perspective, but from the contractor's perspective.
Right.
You're dealing with I think you get pretty deep into contract law and the ability of the parties to contract. And
Right.
their sophistication. And that's not really something that you're going to look at. You're going to look to see if they met the requirements of Florida contract law for construction.
Do you know if Mr. Martin had, like, the ability to pull permits for Mr. Spade or anything
He said he was pulling.
registered on that?
Yeah.
Okay. Which would qualify him to be able to work in the name of that contractor.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Just for clarification, so the monies were deposited in in L&M Construction's account?
Yes.
And Mr. Spade, who holds the license, knew about those monies in his account?
He was made aware of it when we called.
Mr. Spade isn't present to answer that question.
There was a phone call Melissa Rebar and myself made from this office to Mr. Spade, in which we told him about the monies, and so he was made aware of it on that phone call.
We could have Ms. Reaver testify to that if you want additional information.
Okay, but so would that phone call have been recorded or transcribed in some way?
No, ma'am, it wasn't. It was strictly when I notified her that how qualifier works and let her know this is who the case is going to be against, is Saul Spade, despite the fact the owner of LM Construction Maintenance or LM Construction Roofing LLC being Logan Martin, that Mr. Spade ultimately is responsible since he qualifies the business. And so that's when she learned about him. I called him. He happened to answer. I reminded him he had a stop work order on the property and what had gone on. And she was able to have a conversation with him then, explaining, you know, I've been paying money.
Right, but the money went into Mr. Spade's account? No?
No.
Okay, that's what I was trying to...
Her agreement was with Logan Martin.
Okay, so the money went to Logan Martin, not Mr. Spade?
Correct.
Thank you.
As the owner of the business.
Sorry for clarifications again, though, but the subject here says Saul D. Spade doing business as. So is Mr. Spade own L&M Construction?
So Mr. Spade, with his license, his CGC license, qualifies L&M Construction and Roofing LLC.
Was he listed as an owner of part of, it says here doing business as.
So he is state certified.
Right.
So he went through the state.
Right, to qualify that company.
Qualify that company. The state requires certain methods of a partnership, corporation, things like that. You have to be affiliated with the company. We do not know exactly how that works. We know for Escambia County, he registered with us and is qualifying that company.
Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Trawick? For Ms. Shea? Anybody have?
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Shea. We'll probably call you back again, so.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Trawick, would you like to
Thank you, Mr.
speak to us today?
Members, I appreciate you listening to me. John Trawick, I represent LM Construction, and I represent Mr. Martin. And if you'll excuse me, I've got some documents that I'm going to provide to you all that I think will shed some light on this. Unfortunately, a lot of the information I'm going to give you is going to make this a little bit more convoluted than it already is.
Thank you.
And I'll tell you in the front end, the reason this is convoluted is this is a dispute between owners of a business who have been involved in multiple properties that they were flipping, that they were developing, and this dispute belongs in a courtroom. You're being asked to basically adjudicate something a court would adjudicate. That's for courtrooms, not for this room, and I'm going to explain to you why. The first thing I'd like for you to consider is this property has never been owned by Ms. Shea, never been owned by her husband. Not today, not yesterday, never. This property was owned by Tucker Property Services. And what's interesting, and she's apparently affiliated with Tucker Properties, but so too is Logan Martin.
Can you give those papers to Ms. Christie, please?
I will. Get those out. Okay.
While you're doing that, I pulled up on Sunbiz L&M Construction and Roofing. Only Logan Martin is listed.
So methods of qualifying for the state include being a W-2 employee.
It does, okay, okay, all right. I thought it actually had to be a legitimate partner corporation.
And board members, what I'm going to do is give you an overview, and then I'm going to call Mr. Martin to testify and give you more details. It might make more sense that way, and then, of course, you'll have an opportunity to ask him any questions. But I'd ask you first, I'm providing an operating agreement for Tucker Property Services, Inc. Again, that was the owner of this property. And I want you to understand, too, this property was owned by Tucker Property Services, Inc. from August of 24 until April of 25. They don't own the property anymore. And I'm going to provide you deeds which show that Tucker Property Services bought the property for $150,000, sold it 8 months later for over $1 million. They made $900,000 on this property, didn't lose a dime, made almost $1 million on this property in 8 months. So the impression that you got initially that this was Ms. Shea's property or her husband's property is not accurate. Instead, it was a corporation's property that was owned for 8 months that they flipped and made almost $1 million on. You're going to see in the operating agreement for Tucker Properties, which I'm providing to you, it's the operating agreement is actually signed by Logan Martin. Logan Martin's identified in the operating agreement as a man. You may.
I'm so sorry. Yeah, do we need a motion to submit that in evidence first?
Yes, you would, but it is as he describes it. We are getting more copies, so for a moment.
Do I have a motion to submit the provided evidence?
So moved.
Information in evidence, so moved. Second? Raise your hand. Just want to make sure we do it legally before we start.
So board members, you'll see at the very beginning of the operating agreement, it says it's an operating agreement for Tucker Property Services, Inc. Again, that was the property owner. No longer the property owner, was the property owner. It's dated 7th day of February 2024, and you'll see the managers are Hullis Tucker and Logan Martin. You'll see at the last page that the agreement is also signed by Logan Martin. Now, Melissa Shea is referred to in this agreement, and you'll see her referred to in Article 2 under 2.02, which is on the second page. It says Melissa Shea is also an authorized signer and can sign any legal documents, including sales of properties, deeds, tax documents, or loan documents on behalf of the company. And then you'll see in Article 3, under Part 3.02, it says the manager may appoint Melissa Shea and any other officers with duties and compensation as the manager deems appropriate from time to time. So again, what you've got here is somebody, Miss Melissa Shea, affiliated with Tucker Properties, Inc., making a complaint against one of the managers of Tucker Properties, Inc., about a deal that they were working on for Tucker Properties, Inc., again, which bought the property for $150,000, sold it for almost $1 million 8 months later. And I'm going to explain to you that the arrangement they had was part of a much larger arrangement that's referred to. Artie McGraw was the original attorney for the company. Artie sent the case to me. But what he was referring to is that there were multiple deals that they were working on. Tucker Properties, Inc. was one of several entities that Ms. Shea and Mr. Martin were involved in. They were buying properties, they were flipping properties, they were renting some properties out. This was part of a much bigger network, and like a lot of business arrangements, it fell apart. It fell apart in May or June of 2025, and as a result of that, this complaint arose later. Again, it was filed by Ms. Shea as if she were the owner of the property. She never was. She had indicated to you when she was up here that her husband bought the property. He didn't buy the property either. The property was bought, and I'll provide you, in fact, let me go ahead and give those to you now. Sorry to make you work, Kristen.
Well, just in case you might have this too that needs to be copied, is there an agreement, because it's former Tucker Properties and now it's Logan Martin with Melissa and John?
I'm sorry, Ms. Luna, ask your question.
Is Tucker Properties no more, or does Tucker Properties continue?
It's a Delaware entity. I couldn't tell you for sure whether it's still technically around.
Okay.
I don't think it's operating in the form that it did. Certainly not operating with the two of them as it did before, but you know how it is. companies
Is there
were
any
created.
agreement that's between, oh, yes. Is there any agreement between Melissa, John, and Logan? Like similar to this, but.
I'm going to have, I'm going to have Mr. Martin testify as to what their agreement was.
But there's nothing on
It's an
paper.
oral agreement
Okay.
to do various things, including the Klondike Road property.
Okay.
This was one of their projects that they did. Yes.
Excuse me for as well, but can you give me some insight into Article 6? If Ms. Shea is just a manager, how do we come upon this in the death, incapacity, beneficial interest transferred to the surviving spouse of Melissa Shea or John? I don't, I'm trying to wrap my brain around how a manager of a company gets all of everything.
I read that article as well and scratched my head over that as well. I didn't prepare this document.
Something's not smelling right.
Right. That's why I was also asking if there was some sort of contractual agreement,
Gotta
because
be more to the story.
indemnification, like further moving into, yeah, there's a lot more.
There's more, and I'll have Mr. Martin testify to that. And again, that gets to the gist of my argument, which is that there's a lot going on here. This was not simply a property owner that bought a property and hired a contractor, and then the contractor was paid and didn't do the work. That's not what this is. And again, I'll have Mr. Martin explain that. But what I provided to you, board members, is the deeds. You'll see there are two deeds.
I'm sorry,
I'm
they
sorry.
have to accept it.
Oh.
They haven't done a motion on it.
Do I have a motion to accept the information provided into evidence?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
I have a motion second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved.
Additional copies are coming in, and I just want to remind, and I appreciate that, I know that this is deeper than what they are really touching on, but I want to make sure that we don't get this board too far afield of what they're looking at, which is unpermitted construction. I
That's-
think that your point, that this should be a civil case, then that's different. But
Right.
just so we don't get them too far in the weeds with
I
something that they
understand.
can't make a decision on.
I understand. And to clarify, because there were allegations made against LM Construction that it misappropriated funds, that it somehow mismanaged funds, and that Mr. Martin did that's part of the allegations here. That is what I'm addressing. Mr. Spade is not here. I do not represent Mr. Spade. We were hoping he was going to attend. He's not here. He couldn't be here. I simply wanted, because when there are these type of allegations, these type of things can be referred to the state attorney's office. They can get legs and do other things. I wanted the record to be very clear what this was so that the board could determine appropriately what LM Construction's role was and what Mr. Martin's role in this was.
From the outset, I get that L&M is protected by the fact that they have somebody pulling permits for them, is what we classify it as, who's doing the permitting.
Yes, sir. Yes,
So
sir.
I
Mr. Spade was
understand.
the qualifier for
So,
LM.
to Ms. Christie's point, that's what we have to focus on. There is a civil flag of a company getting money and not doing the work. That's a whole nother arena that, unfortunately, we don't have Mr. Spade here to give us information on where these monies went, what happened to them. Because he would be the one that's the license holder for us to seek that information from. Is this correct, Ms. Christie?
Well, he could certainly, regardless of what happens with the money, go back to, this is a state contractor.
Right.
So you can only focus on the permitting issue.
Right, right.
So you can't get into these other,
But the reason we would take his permitting privileges away is because he has violated one of our statutes, which would include the misappropriating of funds, correct? Proceed.
Chair, I just want to draw your attention back to what the alleged violations were.
The permit.
It had to do with receiving monies and then working unpermitted.
That's right.
Having a stop work order issued.
Right.
Obtaining a late permit, missing inspections.
So we just don't have him here to determine if the money really got to him or not or anything.
We are looking at these items
Just
that
a
are on your.
simple item of permitting, lack of permitting, we'll call it.
Yes.
there are two documents, two warranty deeds.
Yes. There's the initial deed to Tucker Properties showing $150,000 that Tucker Properties paid. Then there's the subsequent deed from Tucker Properties when it sold it for over $1 million. And Mr. Lister, I'll have Mr. Martin address the funds. He can speak to those within a certain capacity, and I'll try to rein this in a little bit more. I understand the allegations. I don't mean to burden this board with a lot of details that would ordinarily be sifted out in a courtroom, which again is kind of my argument. But what I'd like to do, without belaboring this further, is to have Mr. Martin testify to explain what LM Construction did and why this ended up the way it was.
I think we can entertain that idea, but, and again, I asked Ms. Christie for some of your advice here. Mr. Martin is not the license holder. Anything that he says here today is what value can this board take from that, since he's not the guy who's the complaint is against. He's not listed as the complainant.
Well, I think what he's explaining is he's a witness in this case. Regardless of whether or not he's the complainant, he may be a witness with relevant information. The question as to, that's he can brief you on what he would say, which I think is what he was trying to do, on what you could expect him to say. You're coming back to the permitting question,
right?
And that's why that's why we keep kind of draw it back, because
right.
Civil cases are very easy to get down a long road,
right?
If in fact that's where this should be,
right?
But as far as you cannot take any actions against Mr. Against Spade, you can take action against his licensing, but his client, which is the corporation, is not before you.
Yeah.
So you can listen to him, and if you
keep
decide
everything in line with our witnesses, that it's to the permitting process. That's the main thing.
And I understand what he's trying to do. He's trying to make sure the record's clear that it's not.
And
his
I get
client.
that.
Right.
I'm on to what he's doing.
We just don't want to paper ourselves.
If
but
you
also
wanted to, one of the
to-
things. Hold on, just a second.
Okay.
One of the things you could consider is just ask him to keep it limited, so that you can move this process along, because you do have, if it's not something that's before you, then it's not relevant for your decision today, which is only probable cause at this point.
Right.
And I apologize, Ms. Lynn.
Oh, no, you're fine. No, that's perfect. Because I was going to go into, because there's so many, our word of the day, convoluted things here. But with Tucker Properties, I looked it up. It's actually Coleman, Alabama, not Delaware, although there is a New York address. So,
I think it's
moving
classified
into,
as a
there's a lot of
Delaware Corporation.
Delaware corporate, yeah.
Yeah.
There's many nuance and details here.
So, and I would caution the board as to that information. As far as investigations, you can direct investigations, but we shouldn't be doing them here while we're in process. So be careful about that. Okay. I mean, it doesn't really affect what's happening here, because ultimately we're back to, it's a permitting question.
Right.
And that's what exactly I was trying to say.
All right, am I free to, may I call Mr. Martin?
Yes, sir. Did
Okay,
we need
thank
to
you.
swear him in because of being a witness? Yes, we need to swear him in, Mr. Counsel. Mr. Trevick.
I do. Okay, Mr. Martin, if you'd step up, I'm just going to stand here. I usually speak pretty loudly. Tell the board what your role was with regard to Tucker Property Services.
So I was one of the managing members to be able to purchase and rehab the property or units or whatever it was, to be able to resell or rent out the unit across the board, along with multiple other entities.
Was this the only property that you were involved in with Melissa Shea or her husband?
It was not.
How many other properties were you involved in that were either rehab, renovation, remodel, or flipping?
Between Florida, Alabama, Connecticut, and New York, over 60 properties.
Okay. Regarding this property, Klondike Road property, what was the intention and what was the plan as far as the work that was to be done on it?
So originally we went through, there was no 100% scope that we ever had actually end up putting out there saying that we needed to end up doing. We purchased the property cash, then we went through and stated that we needed to clear up all the violations was the first thing. There was a ton of code enforcement violations for years that was on that property, And we went through, and the first thing that we did, that's the reason there was a window door permit, was to be able to get all the windows and doors fixed and secured, because of that was stated by the officer that there was a big nuisance with homeless there, and that was one of the big things to be able to keep the code enforcement case open rather than go in front of the magistrate, was to get that closed up and be able to lock up the units.
Okay, this property, what was this property? What was this when you bought it?
It was just a place that caught fire, burnt. I was told motel many times, but I'm not sure exactly as to, what it was. It was just a 7 or 8 unit property.
Okay, so you bought the property. How was the work going to be performed? What was the arrangement as far as the work that was to be performed, the renovation work?
It was going to be, just like multiple other projects, I fronted the cost of the rehab, would go through and start getting into the project, whether it was we were fully renovating the property or doing something as simple to be able to get it ready to rent out or to sell. And so it would go through and we'd have a full cost report of the entire job, and then we'd end up going through, and Melissa and I would end up resolving all that financials towards the end as we would go through and sell the property or rent the property out.
Okay, you say we. Who was going to be doing the work? Can you describe the relationship of LM Construction, which is a different entity?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
and LM Construction is a contractor?
It is, yes.
And who's the license qualifier?
Saul Spade.
Okay. What was the arrangement as far as what LM Construction was going to do, and what did LM Construction do on this project?
So LM Construction, just like the other properties that we would do, we'd go through and because of needing a contractor, licensing and everything to be able to do the work that we performed on many properties, was to take care of the property, the full renovations. LM and myself being the owner would go through and fund the entire renovation on it, and then that's when we'd go through and figure out on the backside the full financials.
All right, so briefly, what was the work that was going to be done, and what permits were going to be required?
So we did file, so Melissa Reber did come, she called Saul Spade. I ended up reaching out to Melissa Reber when that stop work order was put on the same day in April, and we fully got everything submitted over to an architect, everything that was needed to be done or was being done from there, and ended up getting those plans done and sent back, and we got them submitted to the building department, and then ended up waiting, and that's when all this kind of started going down, was in the process of filing all that paperwork to be able to obtain the permit, was the whole business.
So what permits were obtained?
The windows and door permit.
All right, there were other permits. What were the other permits that would have been involved and would have been pulled?
For a full renovation and structural changes.
Okay, and explain again why that work stopped.
Because if there was work that was done that should have been permitted before it was started.
No, why didn't you continue this? Why did this project finish?
Because of the business dispute in the mix of getting those permits.
Okay, and this was a dispute involving this project or other projects?
It was revolving around multiple projects.
Okay. There was, I believe you've seen, there were wire transfers of approximately, I think it was exactly rather, $125,000.
Mm-hmm.
You saw those wire transfers.
Correct.
Explain that, please. Where did that money go?
So on all the money that ever ended up coming into the account, there was never anything that when Melissa and I were designated on a certain funds, it was always going through and processed into a general account, and then it would go through for any projects that we went through month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months prior that was still owed. We were waiting on refis to happen or sales to happen to get me caught back up on funds. So that money was sent in a general account. There was never anything designated monies for a certain job or a certain project.
Okay, so you had multiple projects going on where loans were being pulled for the work.
Correct.
That money was coming in, and that money that came in on a particular project for a particular loan, some of that or all of it might go to that particular property, or it might get split and put on other properties.
Correct.
All right, $125,000 that came in was what work did LM Construction do first of all?
So the biggest
Can you tell me
thing-
the value of that?
Yeah, the biggest thing, so we did over $70,000 in work that was already actually performed on it between all the original cleanup. We had over 20 dumpsters out there, violation stuff. We had overgrowth, tons of overgrowth that we had ended up clearing per code enforcement. So we ended up doing a ton of cleanup was the original, cleaning it out, windows and doors, and then getting the whole property secured 100% was the biggest expense.
So just to clarify, John, you asked LM. Are you speaking specifically to LM or LKM?
LM. So LKM is a null and void. It's not an active thing going on and no active work being done under LKM. There's no work as LKM. We're
So
not-
I'm just trying to make sure that it's clear for me, and I apologize if I'm taking up a little time. So Saul Spade is the qualifier for LM, and you are what with LM?
I am the owner.
You are the owner. Okay. Who is Saul to you?
Saul is one of our employees on payroll, so he does all the consultation, verifies everything for the permitting, does all that. Basically, he does the full oversight of the construction projects.
Okay, but you are the oversight over Saul.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
All right.
Can I interject here also? I think we have heard what we really need to hear. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but Mr. Martin mentioned that work was done that should have been permitted, that was not permitted, and then when the stop work order, then you started the procedure of getting this done.
That's correct, yes.
So that's what we needed to hear, is that there was work done that should have been permitted, that was not permitted, and it wasn't even attempted to until it was forced with the county, I guess it'd be.
And it was all within a very quick span of
I understand that, but what we have to concentrate on is what is listed here in the complaint, which is pretty exhaustive here, but the first one is, and this, again, we're at probable cause, so we're seeing if there's legitimacy here. Finding that a contractor is guilty of fraud, deceit, gross negligence, incompetence, and misconduct because they did receive wires and draws working unpermitted continues to qualify this construction company. And then there was exhibits. The second one, C8, termination of a construction project in which contractors engaged or contract shall be considered to have been abandoned after 90 days. And then the last one is finished without a permit, having been pulled, no permit called off the job, or late permitting during the job resulting in missed inspection or inspections, considering the trusses, roof installation, poured concrete, and framing of walls. I'm not trying to cut this all short, but I'm trying to come to a head with this. And I sense that we've already got the feel that these things here were not met. Admittedly, I don't know if that's the right word to say, but by your conversation with us, that this in fact has some legitimacy. Ms. Mary?
Yeah, what other properties are in Escambia County? Are there more permits outstanding
So
currently?
There is.
How many more?
It's in the city limits. There's ones that are in city limits that are currently, and I did get expiration notices that after all this has gone on, there's not been a single thing been done since then while we've been trying to resolve in this settlement.
Where's Mr. Spade from?
He's here. He's local. He's here in Florida.
He's local in Florida, but what part of Florida?
He lives in down in South Florida.
South Florida.
Yes, sir.
So he doesn't visit the sites.
No, we're in multiple different. We're all the way down to Miami, all the way up here to Pensacola.
And Mr. Martin, you said that those projects are only in the city limits. There's nothing in Escambia County that's
We do
outstanding?
have multiple, I know, and there is violations that are in the Escambia County that has been arose since all this has gone on. So there's, but we have our active permits that we do have open right now, or that are not open anymore, that are expired, are in city limits.
Okay.
Any other conversation from the board here for Mr. Martin?
I've got a question.
Okay.
Approximately how many projects have you performed under this arrangement with the group that you're involved with now that we're discussing that's south of, say, the Lakeland area?
With this,
With your group that we're discussing now,
with Melissa Shea directly, none.
and with Saul Sade,
We've done probably about 30 or 40 projects down there.
south of Lakeland?
Yes, sir. Down Tampa, St. Pete, down to Weston, Fort Lauderdale area.
And about how much does he spend up this way with your projects?
So we end up, directly on site, it's not much. So it's all 90% of everything is all virtual from office that me and him meet, fly down, he drives up, whatever on that aspect of it.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
So again, just to bring us back to focus, we do not have any jurisdiction into his license, simply the permitting ability in Escambia County. That's all we're looking at with these allegations or alleged violations here. Anybody else have any questions for Mr. Martin? Thank you, Mr. Counsel. I think we got everything we need here for this. I'd like to go over each one of these violations to see where we're at here with these. Ms. Shea, would you like to make any comment now that we've heard from counsel and Mr. Martin?
I just want to say there's just he does a lot of smoke and mirrors to distract you from what the real issue is, and I'm glad that you stayed focused on saying we're here for the permits. I personally feel that he just uses Saul Spade as somebody on paper, and he does whatever the hell he wants, and he opens up permits, because I have not just this property but many other properties in which permits were not pulled, and I'm working with Escambia County to correct all those. I just want to point to the fact that this operating agreement is totally false, because it says, as she pointed out, this operating agreement says Florida. The company is in Alabama. He doesn't know anything about this. He doesn't know who Hollis Tucker is, and he put my personal address on there. So I just want to say, take it for what it's worth. I think they're just trying to confuse you, to take you off the mark. And I've dealt with this constantly now with them, and that's all I want to say about that.
We're trying to stay unconfused. We're trying to stay focused.
Stay on target, right?
No, I understand, but and this happens throughout the state. People let their license be used by companies, and Florida legislators trying to, capture some of this from happening, because this becomes a big problem.
Yeah, and it's a lot of money. It's my family that's being affected and financially, and he got a lot of money from us. So.
Thank you, Ms. Shea. So let's go back to the first violation, if that's okay, Madam Secretary. We'll just kind of go 1, 2, 3 here, and individually go with these instead of all three of them together for probable cause. Is that sufficient?
Yes, sir. If you want me to take you through them, I can certainly do so. The first one was 1837 C11. Finding that a contractor is guilty of fraud or deceit or gross negligence, incompetency or misconduct in the practice of contracting. And what was cited there is that monies were received and he was working unpermitted.
Okay, do I have any discussion on this before we entertain a motion for 18-37 C11? Okay, do I have a motion to find probable cause? What we're looking for is to find probable cause to move it to disciplinary hearing.
Motion to find probable cause to move it to the disciplinary hearing.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Okay. Motion is approved.
So the second item is 1837 C8. That speaks to termination of a construction project in which the contractor is engaged or under contract shall be considered to have been abandoned after 90 days. Stop work order was issued on April 3rd, 2025, and then no additional work was done after that time, and the complaint was filed August 1st, 2025.
Okay. Do I have any discussion from the board on number 2, C8? Do I have a motion?
Motion to find them in violation and move it to disciplinary hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Okay. It has been approved. Number 3.
1837 D15C. job finished without a permit having been pulled, or no permit until caught after job, or late permit during the job resulting in missed inspection or inspections. Again, there was unpermitted work done, permit was obtained late.
Okay, and again, I just want to remind the board that these allegations and what we're looking at has nothing to do with the civil aspect that of, you know, the type of partnership or whatever. This is just simply, did the contractor do these items or not? That's our responsibility. So any discussion? Entertain the motion.
Motion to find them in violation and move it to disciplinary hearing.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion is approved unanimously on number 3 to move it forward into disciplinary hearing. Thank you, everyone here today concerning this, for your input. Okay. Next one.
Before we start, I need to recuse myself on this case.
Yes, sir, we'll get you that form. Our next.
Thank you.
Our next item is Brett Smith, doing business as Apex Plumbing LLC, state registered license number RF 11067884. Contractor Competency Board complaint number 250993 COM. It's in regard to Frank Janicek, complainant at 1815 Klondike Road, Pensacola, Florida, 32503. I don't believe Klondike's in this. I think there's a typo on the agenda. It's 1815 Escambia Avenue, not Klondike. And this is located in the city limits. So the agenda just has the wrong street name. Proper notice was sent to the respondent. Mr. Smith, are you present today? Yes, sir. And are you going to provide testimony for this hearing? Yes, sir. Perfect. And Mr. Janicek, are you here today? And are you going to provide testimony for this hearing? At this time, I'm going to have both parties sworn in. And just a reminder, Ms. Reber was previously sworn. Raise your hand. Do you swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and so help you God? All right. Ms. Reber, was a complaint filed in regard to this case, and on what date was it filed?
Yes, there was, September 17th, 2025.
And what case number was assigned?
250993 COM.
And what licensed contractor was the complaint filed against?
Brett Smith, doing business as Apex Plumbing.
And what is the address on file for that contractor?
6445 Kennington Circle, Milton, Florida, 32570.
Who was the complainant?
Frank Janicek.
What is the license number and what type of license does Mr. Smith hold?
License number RF 11067884, state registered plumbing license.
During your investigation, were you able to come up with any alleged violations pertaining to the complaint?
I was. Code section 1837D15C, proceeding on any job without obtaining applicable local building department permits and/or inspections. Job finished without a permit having been pulled. Justification: Smith has failed to pull the applicable permit.
And just looking at the backup for this case, we have some photographs provided by the complainant, proof of payment, an estimate, his complaint form, along with executed notices, the city permit that is not issued, confirmation from the city that no permit was obtained, a response from the contractor, and the permitting history for the contractor, correct?
That's correct.
Staff would request that these items be moved into evidence for this hearing.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved.
Mr. Reber, can you take us through a brief synopsis of the complaint and what occurred?
Escambia County Building Services staff received a formal complaint from Frank Janacek alleging that Brett Smith, doing business as Apex Plumbing LLC, installed an undersized tankless water heater on his property, leaving the project with several code violations. Janacek states he received an estimate from Smith on June 27th, 2025 to install a Navian tankless water heater. The total amount of the estimate was $2,745.50. Janacek shows that he paid a deposit of $1,098.20 on June 27th, 2025, and an additional payment on July 3rd, 2025, in the amount of $1,482.57. Smith responded to this complaint by stating that Navian tankless water heater was installed at the Janacek's home based off the estimate provided to him. Smith states that Janacek questioned the fact that the new water heater had a lower BTU than his previous unit. Smith alleges that Janacek was not experiencing any performance issues with the water heater and was receiving constant hot water as expected. Smith further alleges that he confirmed with Navian that the current unit is correctly sized for the home's needs. A search of the permitting history for this address confirmed that a permit was applied for on November 13th, 2025, more than 5 months after the installation. However, the permit has never been issued due to non-payment.
Mr. Janacek, as you are the complainant in this case, if you want to come to the podium and provide any additional details.
I do not have any other additional items except during the process, I consulted with a mechanical engineer that I worked with, and he contacted the Navian reps and ran through the calculations, and he said I was undersized and I should get the proper unit, because I start out with 199,000 BTU and I wound up getting 150. So the fact I still get hot water is different in the wintertime, because on one restroom or bathroom a little bit further away from the unit takes a lot longer to heat up. But that was the complaint, and then also the workmanship was not proper. If you looked at the photographs at hand, the wiring was not hooked up. There's a drain pipe for condensate water was not installed. And also, I'm not able to maintain this new unit because the ports that allow you to clean, pump vinegar through there with a pump is blocked by a gas pipe. So I can't maintain the unit. And so that's my complaint now. I was told that, I had an agreement with him. He never gave me any unit size, buyer beware, whatever. But again, the way it was installed is improper, and I need to get that taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned this in your thing. The contract does not say a particular model, size, et cetera. So while I can understand that you had a 190 and need, it's 150, I understand the differences, but like you said, buyer beware, I guess, in some point here, there wasn't a thing there on it. the Navian setup, this is in the photos, the Navian setup has this gas line port right in front of those areas where you have your purge valves. So
Correct.
that's, I mean, I totally get what you're saying. You know, that's the picture there. It's you know, I guess that could be argued all over the place. The thing we're looking at today, though, is proceeding the job without obtaining applicable local building permits or inspections, and then finishing it with not having a permit pulled. So we don't have in our wheelhouse whether or not it's the right size or whether or not this pipe is, you know, from Navian put in the wrong or right place. Could he have turned the port valve? You know, those things are not what's before us. What's before us is the permitting. Right. You know what I'm saying? Not trying to take away validity of anything you're saying. That's just not in what we as a competency board deal with with this.
It's unfortunate it was City of Pensacola, and then they referred me to the state, and I sent my information to the state, went back to the county.
Yeah.
So all of this time has transpired.
Yeah, the system could be perfected, that's for sure. Yeah, he is a registered, the state is certified, the counties are registered plumbing inspectors, so it does come through us. The previous case, the only reason it came to us was for permitting privileges. This one actually can be, you know, more than just permitting privileges if we chose and saw that there was reason for anything here.
But my other point is, you know, I've got wiring that's just not hooked up correctly, and I would assume a permit representative of the City of Pensacola would pick that up and say, hey, this is installed.
Not secured properly,
Right.
yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying there. Again, because there was no permit, we don't even have a ability to look into the install of any level. Am I correct with this?
That is correct. And I had told Mr. Chanichuk it's unfortunate until he gets that permit.
Right.
The city may come in and, you know.
They may make it be corrected. But what we're looking at today is the value of not having the permit.
Okay, and that I understand, and I guess that's the direction we're going in.
We have to. We're again, that's our scope that we're limited to right here with this. If it was permitted and bad work done, Mr. Tim and his guys would be all over it. Well, actually, this would be Mr. Jonathan. This
Mr.
is the
Bilby,
city. Yeah.
yes.
Mr. Bilby, sorry. But the building official would be over it. But because we haven't reached that point yet.
Okay.
That's what we're looking at today. Just for clarification. Not that we're ignoring what you're saying. We have to focus on this part here. All right. Anything else you'd like to tell us?
No, but thank you for looking into this case.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mr. Smith, would you like to address the board?
Brett Smith, did I say my address? 6445 Kennington Circle. So I don't do good in talking in front of people, but that.
Mr. Smith, if you could talk into the
Oh.
microphone, please, thank you.
So that is a flush port. It's on a swivel. It spins like it's, like I'm not like arguing back and forth and anything like that. Like we had a permitting issue. There's a couple of them that like have slipped through. He was one of them. As soon as she told us, I was like, oh my goodness, we didn't pull it. It's a water heater. It was a direct swap out. You just unhook the gas, hook up the water, direct swap out. There's a condensate line, and he sent us pictures of this. So we're not electricians, so whenever there's a conduit that needs a 90 or something like that, we got to go to buy it. That's all it was. It was in the process of like, hey, can we go back on the property? Can we fix it? I'm all for it. Like, pull a permit. I know we requested one. I guess we didn't pay for it, but I'm here to do the right thing. I mean, if I need to go, if he'll allow us to go on the property, we'll fix whatever it needs to be fixed. I know exactly what it needs and fix it. But I know there is violations. You know.
What's the process of the permit at this point today? Do you know?
I think all the paperwork's there. I just need to pay for it. Like, y'all have, all the fixture count and the gas and all that.
So can you tell us why you haven't done that?
So I have been out. I've been completely out for about a month. I was in a hospital. I just kind of like not really stepped away from it, but like we had to fix some things. And there's a process, like we're doing it now. There's like 2 or 3 other ones that I need to pay for, and we got kind of like busy, and we weren't, but we're good now.
So basically, if you paid for the permit, it could be issued, and this could be finalized out.
If he if he paid for the permit and it was issued, and he could call for his inspection if he feels like there's some things he needs to do, and Mr. Janacek.
Mr. Janacek, I'm sorry for asking you from the thing here, but from your perspective, if Mr. Smith was able to get the permit and taken care of, would he be able to come back onto your property and get somebody to fix the wiring? In other words, these things that you feel like are not properly, would that be sufficient to you?
Oh, yes, very much so. But it's just ironic that it took from
Oh, I understand.
August till now, because I also want to mention he had prior to his installation, he didn't have an answering service. And once I found these problems and tried to discuss with him over the phone constantly, once he went to his answering service, it was, communications out. So that's why I was forced to go to
Sure.
the county and make these steps happen. And it's unfortunate that it has to work this way. But, I never banned him from the property. He's allowed to go there.
Okay.
I welcome the city to come in there and find any defects and so on.
Thank you. Thank you. What was the board's, yes, ma'am.
Before you go any further, I just want to make sure that it's understood that the county will not enter into what's going on. From what I understood, that you were not satisfied with the size of the heater.
Right, I know,
So,
I understand that.
okay, so, but we're just dealing, you're
Permitting
just
and-
talking about moving forward, whether or not the permit could be, if the permit were pulled, could it be fulfilled and inspected? That's what they're trying to make sure with you. Okay.
So just let it be known to the record, I did no detecting, so I'm asking, which is hard for me, not to just take control and do it myself. But I'm just curious, does the city have a portal where permits can be paid?
They do. So the city has the same portal as Escambia County,
Okay.
MGO Connect, and yes, payments can be made within that portal.
Are you able to make that payment? Oh, no, not us. I'm just saying if you go into the portal, like right now on your phone and pay it.
She's talking about the city portal.
Through the city portal, yes.
Mr. Smith, what they're talking about is the MGO Connect portal that is part of our permitting software. And if you go in that portal, you can see all your permits, you can see what's outstanding, what inspections are needed, what payments need to be made. You might not be familiar with that. You might have an office person that handles that. A lot of contractors do, and they could go in and make the payment for that permit.
I was just trying to make it easy on you so you didn't have to waste a trip downtown.
I can get Marissa to do it today, if that's what I need to do. I'm not used to all this stuff.
That's right. If we could get that done and our owner is, willing for him to proceed and make it all right, I think this can be resolved without us having to. What's
that'd
the
be
board's thoughts about that is to, so at that point, will we do a continuance to give 30 days for him to, come back to us and say it's all squared away and the owner give thumbs up, or what do we do, Ms. Christie?
So what's before you today is the probable cause. So you can continue your probable cause hearing. If you want to wait till the next meeting and see where things are, just be aware that you've already taken testimony on this and whether or not
Right.
you want to find probable cause, or did you want to come back later and have more evidence before you find probable cause?
Okay, so
And the board would have to be in agreement on that continuing.
that's right. So do I have a motion for either a continuance or yes or no on probable cause?
I make a motion to continue the alleged violation of 1837D15 with the knowledge that Brett Smith is going to get this paid for, and it'll continue on until our next hearing next month, so that way it can be affirmed and confirmed that that payment has been made and that the client in question, Frank Janasek, is appeased and pleased.
Okay.
Is that good?
Let me slow you down. You're just making a motion to continue, and all of those.
Oh, I don't need to say all that?
All of those other things are findings for the next hearing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I make a motion to continue the alleged violation of 1837D15 to the next meeting for next month.
Do I have a second for that?
I make a second.
The motion second. Any discussion?
I don't like it, but I'll go along with it. I don't want to see this guy in here next month. Won't be so lenient.
And I think the board feels that way in general. I can sense that. So we're if I can say this properly, we're giving you a good opportunity here to.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. A lot of wisdom speaking when this guy opens his mouth. Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Got 30 days to get everything together, and Ms. Reber, I'm sure, will be reaching back to you as well, Mr. Janasek, to make sure everything's, in proper order.
If we can hold off on that for just a moment, let's get the next board date. February 4th is when this is being continued to. So if you're saying he has 30 days to get that
I'm
straightened out.
sorry. I'd use 30 days to the next board meeting. My apologies for saying that, 30 days.
Okay, I'm just making sure
It might be 20-something.
We're just excited to be here, so we're saying more words that need to be said. We're saying.
It is a fun place to be, as long as you're not sitting in those chairs. So February 4th is the next date.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys. Thank you for working with us.
Well, I need to excuse myself for 2 seconds.
Do we want to take a break?
Yeah, we will take a couple-minute break.
While we're on break.
Yeah. Did our security lady, Miss Security Lady, did you get some cake? Come on now. I told you got to get some of that. She takes care of us. We got to take care of her.
No, yeah. I'm sorry. Stop it. Bad. What's she doing over there? No investigating. I'm so used to investigating. You're so used to getting things done. Yeah, it's really hard in a timely manner. So that is really exciting about the new ballroom that they're putting in. On Cervantes. Oh, I know, yeah, over there at Cervantes. Yeah. Have you seen this? That's gonna be a monster. Yeah. Okay, well, it's an event venue, technically. Yeah. And I don't think they're gonna have the same contractor. Well, that's. My wife is hiring her husband. I don't. That is awesome.
February 3rd.
Hey, Christy, Alton got the baby. Yes, Alton.
Back into order, and we will move into the disciplinary hearing stage.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Our first disciplinary hearing is David G. Rademacher, doing business as Horizon Improvements, Inc., state registered license number RX 110666706, contractor competency board complaint number 250651 COM. It's in regard to a complaint actually filed by this board based on a complaint that occurred in Santa Rosa County. The room actually has nobody else in it besides staff and board members, so Mr. Rademacher is not present. Proper notice was sent to the respondent. If you want, I will bring up the admin complaint just as a refresher of what occurred. The board previously determined that there was probable cause to believe that the respondent violated Code Section 1837 C7. That code violation results from revocation or suspension of a certificate holder's registration by the Florida Construction Industry Licensing Board or by a certificate holder's certificate of competency from other jurisdiction, may be considered by the board as just cause for suspension or revocation of the county's certificate of competency. This hearing was previously continued pending the outcome of an appeal in Santa Rosa County. We received confirmation from Santa Rosa County that that appeal was ultimately denied. So that is why we're here today, to make a determination on this violation.
And we have a copy of what Santa Rosa.
It is all in your backup, and actually, I would like to move that, all the agenda items pertaining to this case, into evidence.
Do you have a motion to move everything into evidence?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved. So Santa Rosa County denied the appeal.
That's right.
And the facts of the findings of the facts is listed as well.
So what I'll bring up
Conclusion.
is the final order from Santa Rosa County, and they actually ultimately revoked Mr. Rademacher's license.
Yeah, their decision at the bottom of it is his license revoked, he's assessed a $5,000 fine, and et cetera. So we have the ability to.
If we go back to our admin complaint.
Right.
The penalty guidelines for Escambia County is a $100 to $5,000 fine and such other penalty as provided in Escambia County Code Section 1837. Now, this code section referenced, C7, actually speaks specifically to suspension or revocation of the county's certificate of competency.
So we have within our abilities here to do up to $5,000 fine and suspend, revoke, et cetera, of the license.
That is correct, sir.
Okay. Any discussion from anybody here? Santa Rosa County has already proceeded. We're just following the suit because we work together. Do I hear a motion from anyone?
I need clarification, I guess.
Okay.
What motion are we looking for exactly?
So right now, the board is tasked with, is he or is he not in violation? And if you find him in violation, what will be his discipline?
And if he is in, yeah, first of all, is he in violation? Santa Rosa County has already said he is in violation and has revoked his license and charged him with a $5,000 fine. So now it's our responsibility to take action in this county. Do we find him?
So the question before the board, based on the code section, is, was Mr. Rademacher's license suspended or revoked in another jurisdiction?
And obviously it was, so we just need to,
And we continued this to give him the ability to appeal, which he did, and it came back as
Denied.
denied.
right. He appealed and it was denied.
The other way?
Make a motion to find him in violation of count 1.
I'll second that.
Okay. Do we include the fines and all the same? First, we
Do it
just
separate.
do
You
it
can
separate.
find him in
okay.
violation
Okay.
and then make a
Any
determination.
discussion on this part?
Do we need to stipulate whether it's revocation or suspension?
We'll do that second. Right now, we're just
Oh,
finding him in violation.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Here none, motion is approved. Now I will entertain for the fine of any amount or no amount and what to do with the license.
I don't have to make that motion, do I?
You don't have to, but somebody has to. So, you're welcome to. San Rosa County did 5,000 fine and revoking of license.
I make a motion to revoke the license and assess a fine of $5,000 in accordance with section 18-37C7.
Okay. Do I have a second to the motion?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. To have discussion on this part. Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved.
The next item would be a recommendation to the Construction Industry Licensing Board. Your recommendation could include no further action, a fine, suspension, revocation, restrictions on registration, or any combination thereof. And this would be against his state registration.
Do I have a motion on which way to go with this? To submit it to Construction Industry Licensing Board for their action.
Motion for a revocation to the CILB.
Okay. I have a motion to recommend the CILB for revocation. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a second. Any discussion?
Should we say revocation or any further action that the CILB may see appropriate? So in that way, it's not just held to a revocation?
Would the author of the motion like to
I
amend
think
it?
they're gonna do that anyway. But I will withdraw if you wanna make that motion.
Got me. Okay.
So you withdraw your motion at this point?
We did.
You already had a second?
Already have a second, yeah.
So the
Can you
motion
just amend it?
Yeah, let's just go ahead and move forward with this, since we already have the second with it. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved.
Thank you. And that completes that hearing. Our next item is James F. Howard doing business as James F. Howard Construction, Inc., State Registered License Number RC 29027807, Contractor Competency Board Complaint Number 250762 COM. It's in regard to Lily Johnson, the complainant at 2301 West Michigan Avenue. Number 39, Pensacola, Florida 32526. Proper notice was sent to the respondent. Again, the room only has staff and board members present, so no other parties are present. I'll go ahead and bring up the admin complaint, just to remind the board. At the probable cause hearing, the board determined there was probable cause to believe that the respondent violated Code Section 1837 D8 for mismanagement or misconduct causing financial harm to the customer. The board cited that the respondent possibly violated this by accepting funds for a properly installed roof covering and installing the roof covering incorrectly, resulting in damage to the property owner's structure. The second item was Code Section 1837 D9H. Provides that a code violation results from failure to supervise construction activities. The board said that the respondent violated this by failing to supervise and ensure the proper installation of the roof covering. And the third item was Code Section 1837 D13 C2. That is violation of any provision of Chapter 489, Part 1 of Florida statutes as amended. And within that, the board cited Florida statutes 489 126 2A1. A contractor who receives as initial payment money totaling more than 10% of the contract price for repair, restoration, improvement, or construction to residential real property must apply for permits necessary to do work within 30 days after the date the payment is made. The board cited that the respondent failed to apply for the required permit within 30 days after accepting the initial payment from the property owner. Within our agenda items, we have the notice and the certified return receipt, photos of the damages in the home, additional photos from inspector, the permit, the complaint, the proposal, commencement, and communications between the respondent and the complainant. Staff would request that those items be moved into evidence for this hearing.
So move. Second? Second?
A second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved. Move evidence in.
That's all that staff has for you, with no parties being present. We're here to determine, is Mr. Howard in violation, and if he is, what disciplinary action this board will take. If you'd like for me, I can go through each one at a time.
I think we should do the same thing. Yes, ma'am. Go through each count one by one here.
So does the board find Mr. Howard in violation of Code Section 1837 D8 for mismanagement or misconduct causing financial harm to the customer?
Do I have a motion to find him in violation of the mismanagement or misconduct causing financial harm to the customer? And I believe in here she's asking for restitution also in one of these things. We'll have to go back and look at that, but I think she's asking for 4,000 something restitution, which we will do separate, but I just wanted to.
I don't believe Ms. Johnson turned anything in today.
She spoke about it, but she's not provided anything.
She had wrote on her, this is the complaint, number 8, in her handwriting says, I want the 4303 return so I may pay new roofer at the very bottom of that.
Okay.
Keep going, right there. So I'm assuming she's asking for restitution with that?
In item 8, she is requesting the $4,303 return. That is within the payments, approved payments made.
That's what I thought, yeah, yeah. So back to our count number one, before we even get to that, we need to decipher, is he found in violation?
Yes, the current one before the board is Code Section 1837D.
Okay. Do I have a motion to be found in violation of count one?
I move that he is found in violation of Escambia County Code Section 1837D8.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second, second that.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Discussion. Do we need to discuss this? Okay. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved. Now, with that, we have a fine of $7,500 to $1,500
And/or probation.
and/or probation. I'm sorry. Do I have a motion on the fine and/or probation?
I make a motion for a fine of $1,500.
And/or probation?
Just the $1,500.
Just $1,500, okay. All right, I have a motion for a $1,500 fine.
Second.
I have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved. $1,500 fine. Count number two.
Code Section 1837D9H, failure to supervise construction activities.
Okay. And I need to have a motion whether or not he's found in violation.
I make a motion to assert a fine of $1,000. Oh,
Fine in violation of 1837D9H.
yes.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved. For this one, we have a fine of $250, to $1,000 and/or probation. Do I have any?
Motion for $1,000 fine.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion and a second for a $1,000 fine. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved for a $1,000 fine. Count number three. Count number three is code section.
Code Section 1837D13C2 for Florida Statute 489-126-2A1. A contractor who receives as initial payment money totaling more than 10% of the contract price for repair, restoration, improvement, or construction to residential real property must apply for permits necessary to do work within 30 days after the date payment is made.
Okay. So do we have a motion for finding in violation of 1837D13C2 and Florida Statute 489.126-2A1?
Motion to find him in violation of Code Section 1837D13C2 and Florida Statute 489.126-2A1.
Do I have a second? Second. I have 2 seconds. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved. Now, the fine on this is $500 to $1,000.
Motion for $1,000 fine.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second for a $1,000 fine. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hearing none, motion is approved for a $1,000 fine.
So at this time, the board has assessed fines in the amount of $3,500. I need the board to provide a time frame in which those fines have to be paid and what should happen should he fail to do so.
Okay. I need a motion on a time frame for the fines to be paid and the conditions if he does not pay the fine in those time frame.
Can I ask a question before the motion, or do we need a motion for me to
Yes.
ask a question?
Yes, we can
Okay.
discuss that.
I'm just curious if, whenever we're making this motion, are we able to, is the highest revocation of permitting privileges, or is there,
So this
what's
is
the
a-
kind of,
This is a locally licensed contractor.
Mhm.
The ultimate thing that you could do is revocation of his license, period, if he should fail to do as this board has required.
We are not allowed to use previous cases to judge this case. At the same time, we are allowed to look at the previous history. Correct, Ms. Christie?
So you can, for the purposes of weighing the penalty.
Right.
You can look at it, as long as you didn't use it for determining guilt.
Right, right.
Yes.
That's what we're doing now, is the penalty part of it, if he doesn't. So I think everybody up here has seen the name before. If you know, if you want any further, we could pull up past records if need be, but just want everybody to be reminded of this. So yes, we need a motion of time frame for these to be paid, and then the penalty if it's not been paid. And the penalties listed here, not license revocation for a period not less than 1 year, more than 5 years,
Ms.
permanent revocation, suspension, et cetera.
So, Chair, so we just need a time frame, and then what should happen should he fail?
Right, that's what I'm saying. If he doesn't pay, then there's a lot of options here of what to do.
I'd like to make a motion that $1,500 would be required within 30 days, another 1,000 after 60 days, or at 60 days, and another 1,000 at 90. And if he doesn't meet that schedule, revocation of his license.
I think that's a very fair plan. I think that's a very fair plan. The motion is for $1,500 in 30 days, another 1,000 in 60, another 1,000 in 90. If it doesn't fulfill that revocation of license. Do I have a second to that motion?
second?
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hear none. Motion is approved.
Per the complaint form filled out by the complainant, there's a request for restitution in the amount of $4,303.
Do you have a motion for the restitution in the amount of $4,303 to the complainant?
Make a motion for the restitution of $4,303 to the complainant.
Do you have a second?
Second.
I have a motion second. Discussion. Anybody need to see pictures again or anything?
Do we need to create a timeline for the restitution to be given to Ms. Johnson?
Yes.
Or is this after this?
Ms. Mary, could you add?
Or within it?
Could you add a time frame to your motion? For it to be paid within,
I'll amend my motion to include that the restitution has to be paid within 30 days.
And what should happen should he fail to do so?
So what you could do, if I could help you, or if I can make a suggestion, you could require the restitution be paid before the penalties or fines be paid. And then if it doesn't, of course, that doesn't, as long as it's not paid, that doesn't allow him to pay the penalties or fines. And so if he can't pay the penalties and fines when that time period runs, then it'll determine his, then the penalty for not paying the penalties and fines will all kick in. So if you just make it required to be paid before any penalties or fines get paid, then when the others don't happen in a timely manner, it'll take care of itself and you don't have to worry about a specific penalty. Is that as clear as mine?
Clear, pretty much, but.
Let me try one more time.
Restate everything or just keep amending?
So what you would say is, so your motion would be that the $4,303 have to be paid before he can make any payments on his other fines and penalties.
Okay.
That's what you should do. So well, that's what I would recommend, so that it has to be paid within the 30 days, and he has to make all those. And so if he doesn't pay that within the 30 days, but your motion would just be.
Okay, so I need to restate the motion to say that I make a motion that he pay the restitution of $4,303 within 30 days before any of the fines are paid to the county.
It would just be before, you don't need a time window.
Oh.
So it would have to be before the other fines are accepted for the county payments, basically. And the reason why you don't need a time window is because it's going to trigger when the fines don't get paid because he didn't pay the restitution.
We just need a checkbox at this point, please.
So
Okay.
a motion on the floor to pay $4,303 in restitution before any other fines are paid to the county.
I uphold my second.
And we have our second. Now we need discussion. All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Seeing none, hear none, motion is approved. Thank you, Ms. Christie, for keeping us straight.
I don't know if I was any help.
And the final item before the board is a recommendation to the Construction Industry Licensing Board in regard to Mr. Howard's state registration.
Do I have a motion?
And just to bring that back up for you to see what your options are. This last paragraph, last sentence here. Recommendation could be for no further action, fine, suspension, revocation, restrictions on registration, or any combination thereof.
Do I have?
I make a motion for the CILB to review, and upon review, a recommendation for revocation.
So your recommendation is for revocation or
To review and revoke. Is that okay? Trying to say less words for you.
She's asking for a review for revocation. Is that right?
Right. Or for the CILB to revoke, but they'd have to review in order to revoke. That's why I said it that way.
We are recommending the CILB to review it and revoke it.
So I can say, recommend penalty for action by the CILB to be revocation. Is that better?
I think the simplest way is a review for revocation.
Yeah.
Okay. So I had it right the first time? I don't need to amend?
Here's what we've done in the past, and I'm not trying to formulate for you, but we recommendation for revoke and any other actions that the CILB
So like what I said earlier,
deems
this would be
necessary.
here. Okay, then yes.
So the motion on the floor is for recommendation to the CILB for revoking of license and any further action they deem necessary.
Perfect.
Is that your motion?
I second.
That is my motion.
I second.
All right, that's the motion on the table, and we have a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Thank you, Ms. Christie, for keeping us safe, and this motion is approved.
I think that you all do very well. And I know other boards actually have to have transcripts and able to get these motions in. So I really appreciate your willingness to speak up and to say it and be comfortable in your own skin at getting this right or wrong. I like it. So thank you.
Yeah, we have a great board. I want to thank you guys, everybody. I think we have a very excellent board. Thank you all for being a part of this, and let's look for a great year this year. Meeting is adjourned.
Thank y'all.
Make sure you tell Mr. Matthews.